Dragonflight Beta. Dragonflight Beta is here. Exciting expansion update and features Wrath Classics plan. Man, I wish there were some new BGs coming. We really need some fresh ones. Agreed. I'll stay skeptical until proven otherwise in game. I think they have earned that skepticism. Skeptic is with a K, I believe. And I hope they can earn our trust back. Boosts shouldn't be in the game of Classic. This Joyous Journeys buff is awesome, and I think if they were going to have a boosting type service, it should just be this buff at a much cheaper price. Once the free version during this period is over, of course. I think they'd get a lot of people paying for that. This would lead to a better players and a healthier, more active leveling experience in all zones. Yeah, okay. As someone who likes to keep add-on use to a minimum but uses LVUI, I mean, it's like the master fucking add-on. It's like all you need really is LVUI and weak auras, and you pretty much have all the add-ons you ever need in WoW. I would love to remove it just for the bulk of it, but with little handy things. I would love if LVUI broke itself down so I can use the features I would miss removing it, such as customizing your character screen or inspect screen, who hover over NPC player information we get, etc. Pretty sure there's like standalone add-ons you can get for all of these. They should make soul shapes work in the old world, but only in rested areas or maybe only in capital cities. Such a waste to have such an extensive ability only to leave it by the curbside. Soul shapes? What Paladin wanted was a functional talent tree. The battle res is nice, but it's not like we don't get raid spots where we are well tuned anyhow. The big issue is that Red has almost no reason to take a raid spot over Holy or Prot, and our spec design is so poor that we occupy this weird spot of being useless outside of most things, but being a pub stomper is then the right scenario. Kyle knows what's up. He knows this shit. Torn because I'm playing Wrath Classic, trying to catch up to my friends, and the Heroic Edition is tempting. It feels silly to rebuy a game I already own though, and then a couple months later buy an expansion for retail. I'm going to have to choose one or the other. If the Heroic Edition or Boost was cheaper, maybe I'd consider that instead. Alright, so let's see. There's a lot of different topics in this video. Let's see what
the next 3 months is going to see Wrath Classic and Dragonflight. So after a few rocky years, this really is Blizzard's big chance to get the ship moving in the right direction. It's their big moment, and what we're going to cover today is the next vital step in World of Warcraft's progression. So it's a pretty damn exciting one, honestly.
Is it?
Now, if you'd like to support what we do, you can of course check out The Pale Beyond, the game that we are developing. So if you would like a narrative role-playing game inspired by some of the greatest tales of heroism, adventure, and leadership, well, that really ever happened in the old real world, and you'd like a narrative you can cozy up with, then hit up our Steam, wishlist the game. It truly does help out a lot. And yeah.
After this expedition, but here you are stuck in the ice, kept on missing miles from civilization. Someone has to take charge, manage your meager resources, balance safety and morale, make the hard calls, and head in the only direction you can through the Pale Beyond.
Yes, we too are still on schedule for a release this year. So what'll come out first, Pale or Dragonflight? Okay, if I say anything else, I'll jinx it. Let's get into the news then. So Dragonflight has hit a very major milestone, and that is beta. So beta test, that opens up way more accounts, so double check your battle.net if you've opted into that. And it's came along with a few pretty big things actually.
Probably
First up, character copy. So now you'll be able to test your own character on Dragonflight. Add-ons are then also enabled, so that actually means there's going to be plenty of time for add-on developers to update their works. Beyond that, big news for you Paladins. You've got something you've wanted. So just as Ian said, you're getting a combat res. It's a 2-second cast for Holy and Ret, but for Prod, it's instant, costing 3 Holy Power.
Yep, don't have beta. Oh no. Abduction of light on the behalf of a fallen ally, restoring spirit to body and allowing them to re-enter battle with 6% health and at least 20% mana. 2-second cast time for Holy and Red. Instant but cost 3 Holy Power for Pro. Are you kidding me? Alright, so you're never gonna bring Holy and Red if you can bring a Prot, right? Though, and if you can't bring a Prot, you'll bring Holy, but...
Then for Evokers, you'll be bringing Heroes into the party. Also, Blizzard's solution to Covenants is in, and quite simply, the Covenant features will be disabled outside of the Shadowlands, so your class and your Covenant abilities will not come with you. I mean, we always knew we had to move away from borrowed power and that something like this would happen. I'm sure, though, if you went and collected all your Nightface soul shapes, it'll feel a little bit shitty to not have them. Now, that being said,
Probably.
a few Shadowlands design things have actually moved on.
Well, now that I think about it, yeah. Not having all your soul shapes, or basically soul shape as a whole after you collected all of them, is gonna feel really fucking dumb. Because that was like an appearance thing, and appearance usually lasts throughout expansions. Clearly not this one.
Will actually live within the new talent system. Now, speaking of that, well, priests, you finally got your update blog. Took a while. Mistweavers also got a little bit of love with a post covering their tree layout, reduced rotational clutter, mist and fist weaving, plus essence font. And with Vengeance Demon Hunter talents also being added, I believe now that every single spec's core talent update is actually in. Obviously, pending many revisions, one would hope. Now, as for my new main spec of Disc, fascinating change, because Powered Shield is now larger, but has a...
Maybe that's why I don't like Bellular anymore, because he abandoned his paladin. Maybe it's a tribalism thing. I don't know.
Cooldown, and that's with Renew and Flash Heal being our intended
Can't blame him for changing
or applicators.
Mains,
and that does mean the gameplay will be shook up quite a bit. Though I'm going to leave the analysis to the pros.
Should have done like discipline.
It was widely believed that development on Priest and Druid, I believe, were stalled because a designer just left the company. So it's hard to say if that's literally it, but I suppose that would explain the delay. Now, sticking on talents, Blizzard have announced the lovely quality of life feature, and that is that talent loadout sharing and importing will be a thing. That'll conveniently let us share some builds.
That's
and
fine.
Also, you can actually search talents, so that's pretty neat. And I think that means that from now to launch, it's just going to be a case of refining and testing and just seeing what those talents actually end up feeling like, and as well, testing some of the feel of endgame progression, because beta broadly does mean feature complete, but needing polish and refinement. As for the other things in this build then, well, we now know where the Dragon Isles are, per the transport map. It's northeast Azeroth, which is hardly a surprise, and it is far enough away from the core continents that it makes sense that it wasn't part of Kalimdor back before the Sundering, when it was all just one big sort of Pangea-style supercontinent. Blizzard also did a blog post on UI and HUD. It was mostly outlining their overall plan, but thankfully, I noticed that it included a screenshot that still did show...
I'm not gonna lie. I never knew that HUD means a heads-up display. I knew what a HUD is, I just didn't know what it stands for.
Revamped player and target frames that we saw at the sort of BlizzConline styled reveal that Dragonflight got. Now, that was good for me to see. I was starting to get a bit worried that those had been cut because... well, they just haven't been in any of the new builds, so if Blizzard included that in the blog post, it probably does mean that the new clean redesign is going to make it in. Other than that, they really do have the bones of something good, but they really need to get filters in for buffs and debuffs. I think if they do that, we'll be in a pretty fantastic place. I think this core revamp is...
also could use filters for your bag.
Probably meant they've re-architected the whole thing, and it should be a good foundation for future refinement. Plus, I suppose it'll be interesting to see if add-on developers can, instead of doing an Alv UI style total overhaul, if they'll be able to just mod in nice little features to the new base Blizzard UI system. For other things then, PvPers, you've got the Nokudon Proving Grounds Arena. Blizzard also covered a bit of their PvP talent philosophy. Herbalism is in, and the final Dragonflight...
I wish they would make a battleground that is what do you call it, that you can use for esports. So for example, a lot of the time there's like not a lot of like shit happening, but sometimes you're gonna have like the fight outbreaks. So like in the esport you could just view the fights as they happen, and it's like you're gonna have like, oh, these guys are capturing this guy, capturing this. Like imagine like AB for a second, right? And it's like, you see like, okay, we got two rogues going here, like you have like whatever, like you can zoom into them and stuff like that. And then suddenly a fight breaks out blacksmith, and it's like the camera just flies to the blacksmith, and it's like you see what's happening there, and it's like the chaos and all that shit. It would be way too chaotic because of how WoW is, but like I feel like that would be pretty cool.
Dungeon is available for testing. And that means that other than the raid, I guess just about everything is in. We're getting there. Another thing happened too. The retail public test realm actually went down, and then it was patched to 10.0, and this almost certainly means that Blizzard are getting ready to test out that pre-patch. Now, do you remember the rather spicy but sort of believable leaks? Well, according to those, Dragonflight pre-patch will launch October 25th. That's just under 2 months away, and the leak thing said that the full expansion would launch a month after that. Now, pre-patch is going to bring the major systemic changes to the game, so you'll see the revamped talents, you'll see, I suppose, the revamped professions, but most of that profession stuff only really kicks off once you actually see like the new Dragonflight stuff, which you won't be able to get in pre-patch. Pre-patch does, though, open up a whole bunch of new race class combos, specifically allowing any race to be a mage, priest, or rogue.
Wow.
Evokers will also be playable for those who pre-order, which is kind of funny because it meant that Blizzard actually had to make a set of like conduits and Torghast powers and things for evokers, which I'm sure that felt a bit odd to develop. Anyway, it's also going to include the Uldaman revamp dungeon and some sort of world event, I believe, that will get us a currency called Primeval Essence that we'll be able to spend on eye level 252 catch-up gear. So there you go.
I don't know why they just remove the race class limitations. Yeah, I know why they can't do it, because like some shit is gonna be way overpowered. Like imagine Berserker on a Paladin, like that would be fucking sick. It's like pretty much fucking Bloodlust on a Paladin on a 2-minute cooldown or some shit. You know, throw that in with wings, like, you know, but fuck it, man. Who cares? Just nerf the racials then. Remove racials. But like, I don't see why people can't be orc paladins at this point, especially when we know about like what happened in Draenor, right? So
there you go. Fairly major progress. I think the next the big major milestone has been, it's been crossed. The next milestone after this is seeing, for the pre-patch, a release candidate, and for the beta, well, a release candidate build as well. But that won't be for probably a few months yet. Fair play. The WoW esports crew are really trying, and look, I know loads of you aren't into esports for WoW. To be honest, I'm not either, but it is nice to see that Blizzard are actually putting some effort in here, even when we're in quite the turndown. So hopefully this is really us seeing them experiment in sort of new formats, new shows, to see what works, maybe do some trial.
The thing is, if I couldn't say like they're trying stuff like that, they're losing nothing by trying. Even if it's a flop, they're not really losing any money for this. Right? So
runs that they can carry forward into Dragonflight. So the first one is a race between Liquid and Echo. It's called Zymox's Charity Cash. It's neat. So the guilds will race each other through select Nathria and Sepulchre bosses, collecting money for charity as they go. Bosses are going to have 2 fated affixes be active, and each raid will have 2 checkpoints. Those checkpoints will grant charity money, and it'll be double for the guild that hits the checkpoint first. But the guild who hits the checkpoint first will get the fated curse modifier that will make a following encounter be more chaotic. That's actually design effort. Like, that's really cool. This is really cool for community engagement, right? So that's pretty sweet. The next one then is...
question is it going to be balanced enough for them to actually beat it?
The Solo Shuffle Showdown, where 36 players from each region will play 3 solo shuffle matches. The top 12 are going to advance to the finals, where they will then do 2 matches, and then the 6 highest scoring will play a final match, where 1 DPS and 1 healer will be crowned winner. So there you go, a solo tournament. Neat.
Wait. You will have to defeat select bosses as quickly as possible to earn their respective charities a share of $100,000 donation pool. Solo Shuffle. Ahead of Solo Shuffle gaining a ranked mode in Dragonfly, we're introducing the Brawl's first ever competitive event, the Solo Shuffle Showdown. This is a 3-day da-da-da-da. The best Solo Shuffle player and a share of 100,000. Okay, it's a share, but still, this means you might as well do the arena, not the Mythic Plus. I mean, not the raid. I mean, if you can do the raid and the Solo Shuffle, that's fine. But like, usually you either PvP or PvE.
Look, between these two things and the variety show, we are actually seeing a Blizzard that is far more agile. And while maybe this stuff is not super up some of our alleys...
Are they agile? I mean, call me skeptical. But at this point, I feel like they're doing everything they used to do, but they're just like pushing it all at once, mostly because they know they lost a lot of players and they're gonna try anything and everything to bring them back. Like, they need players to come back. They're gonna throw all of this shit at the wall, something, whatever people like, they will keep, you know, shit like that. But it's like, this sounds to me desperate rather than they're being agile or flexible. It just reeks desperation, which again, they should be desperate because they lost a lot of fucking people playing their game.
I do think these are great initiatives to engage the community,
that's fine.
right?
I'm totally
like the
for
Race
it.
to World First and the MDI, those show us, and the AWC, that there is a competitive...
Like, I don't care about their motive for doing this. It's a good thing overall that they're doing this. The motive is secondary, but I do feel like it is out of desperation rather than because they're flexible. I feel like, knowing Blizzard, if this goes well and brings a lot of players back, you won't see this again until they have to resort to this level of desperation again.
Audience for the game. And I think doing more one-off, like, special events that are a bit different like this, I think that'll broaden the audience. I don't care as much for, say, the MDI, but a little, you know, limited, like, oh, it's a race of two great guilds. That would appeal more to a, I guess...
Yeah, this is like a random thought just came to me. This has nothing to do with this. What if you could, like... When you do a Mythic Plus, you randomize the affixes so that it's never a set affix kind of thing. You just like hit like the lottery. And obviously the same limitations of Mythic Plus still exist. Like, you can't have like Fortified and what's it called, and Teaming and Skittish on the same week, for example, right? Something like that. But yeah.
More general person like me. Also, speaking of events, the Great Push Finals are actually going on this weekend, so you can go check those out if you enjoy it. The Wrath Classic pre-patch is live. The Fresh Start servers are up. And it's time, friends, for a new digital consumption occasion. The Deluxe Edition upgrade bundles are here. One is Heroic, the other one is Epic, so you may ask, what do they have? Okay, well, the Heroic one will have a level 70 boost. That level 70 boost includes Expert Riding, a race-specific Epic Ground mount, faction-specific Rare Flying mount, 70 weapon skill, set of green gear, 4 14-slot bags, some gold, then a penguin pet and a Tuskar toy. Now, the boost cannot be used on DKs. So for us in the UK, that is $34.99, but for 25 more pounds, you can also get the other edition, which gets you a Kalawak glider mount. One version for Classic, one for Retail, plus 30 days of game time. Yeah, the mount looks awesome, doesn't it? I also recognize it because I've flown around on the Dragonflight Alpha, because that's one of the taxi mounts. And it is kind of sad, there's now actually 2 of the Dragonflight taxi mounts.
I really don't find this to be an attractive mount. It's unique, sure, but doesn't look good at all.
Have been monetized, right? So the Mana Worm that we got through the 6-month thing, that is one of the flight point mounts in Dragonflight. The Tuskar Kite is another flight point mount in Dragonflight. And to be honest, that does feel really shitty to me. Again, I always go back to my example of how they sold us the Enchanted Fey Dragon during MOP. And then we went to WOD, and we saw the place where the Fey Dragons were, like, you know, reared by the Draenei. And I just thought to myself, like, if this was MOP, then this would have been a Cloud Serpent-like rep, and I would have been able to do things and unlock that mount. So, if I can't get a Mana Worm and a Tuskar Kite in-game because they've been yanked out for these other editions, I mean, in the case of the Tuskar thing for a separate product, then man, that would that'd feel shitty. But yeah, look.
I mean, technically you can. Technically, just buy it with gold. Technically, but yeah, I see. I like his point is still valid, but I'm just saying, like, technically you can. It's just costs you a lot of gold.
It's Blizzard doing their best to have people treat Classic release, which is literally something you don't have to pay for because it's already included in your WoW sub, but they want people to treat it like they are purchasing a copy of the game, right? Because purchasing one of these editions is not just you getting some things, no, it is you actualizing upon your desire to be there for Classic, isn't it? Now that aside, the Fresh Start servers are, I think,
taking advantage of people's nostalgia. Yeah, that's what Classic is, in my opinion.
Place to go. And if you're in the Fresh Start servers, these additional purchases make a lot less sense for you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I'll get to that in a bit. But the other thing is that the zombie event...
You just can't use it right away. You'll be able to use it in like 2 or 3 months whenever the fresh is not as fresh, but yeah.
Which is just goddamn iconic and pretty awesome. That starts next week. Yeah. And of course you can get a head start on inscription, achievements, and also make your first DK. Now, if the full 1 through 70 journey feels a bit daunting, just buy the Joyous Journey XP boost is live, and it will be until the expansion drops, so that's a 50% increase to your XP gains. That'll really help you get your new DK rocketed through Outland. Now, the boost. The boost is obviously an option. It's there. We have to discuss that it's there, but do remember...
I love that they're like, oh my god, bro! Like the DK commercial is so fucking sad. Thruster with unholy power, strike with blood, resist with frost, or some shit like that, like tank with frost or whatever. It's like so dumb.
Boost will not work on a Fresh Start server. And that also will, of course, include the boost that will come with your Heroic or Epic Edition. So I do wonder how many people are going to fall prey to getting the more expensive edition for the mount to only then realize that the boost won't work in the Fresh Start server.
Bone Storm, probably one of the most iconic bosses in Lich King.
So beware of that, I guess. Buyer beware. It's a bit rough that Blizzard have kind of done it in that way. I don't think they're doing it to catch people out.
Whoa. Show me that again.
Beware of that, I guess. Buyer beware. It's a bit rough that Blizzard have kind of done it in that way. I don't...
His body looks super weird. Let me see that again.
It's a bit rough that Blizzard have kind of done it in that way. I don't think...
Yeah, it looks like this part of his is like detached or some shit like that. It looks so weird if you look at it. Like when he moves, it's like it looks like it's like a separate fucking asset, I guess you could call it. It's so weird.
I think they're doing it to catch people out. I think it's the devs
graphics.
Just trying to say, no, Fresh Start, it's, you know, it's walled off. You can't do that.
For now.
So I'm glad that Fresh Start is
I can't wait for all the bots to take over on Fresh. It'd be great. I can't wait for the drama.
Not launching with boosts being possible, that's for sure. And Blizzard probably could have earned more money if they did do it that way, so I guess it's good that they're not. And I guess if their only incentive was to sell boosts, then certainly doing a 50% buff to XP gains wouldn't make as much.
Don't think that, like, first of all, the Superior Edition or whatever it's called is not going away. So, like, people will level on a fresh server, they get the 80, and then, like, when they're gonna have to make another character, which they will, because there's nothing to do in endgame of the Wrath aside from raiding, they are gonna make a new character, and that's when they're gonna use the boost.
Much sense. I think they probably realize they just need as much engagement as possible, right? So, you know, have a smaller percentage of people get the boost, but way more overall people be involved. Now, 1 to 70 won't be that bad with a 50% buff, though, so don't worry. As for myself and Wrath Classic, it's really tricky. We have a lot of things going on here. Of course, our game is going to be coming out this year, and that just means that I'm super busy. So honestly, I'm between a rock and a hard place where would it make a lot of sense for me to click the button on the boost, get the boost? Yes, it kind of would make sense because, I mean, yeah, working multiple jobs, wahoo. But I really feel like Fresh Start's the way to go. But then there's the FOMO.
Bro, oh my god. Fresh is the way, bro. Fresh is the way. Oh my god. Can't wait for the economy to be ruined, man.
Also at play, and I guess that's how existing the modern day gets you. But
It's not like, here's the thing, it's not worth for bots to go for like the non-fresh servers as it is worth for them to go for the fresh servers, because they can sell gold for a lot more in the fresh servers than they can win the massive gold inflation that the normal servers have. So all the bots are going to be in the fresh servers, right? It's like you're going to have way more bots now in fresh servers than you're going to have in regular servers. So
I mean, my Wrath of the Lich King experience was kind of interesting, you know? I leveled up my original warrior, I kind of dabbled around some content, decided to tank, got extremely stressed about tanking, took a bit of a... Well, actually, no, I also was grinding up my Netherwing rep and doing all of that, going around, farming that cobalt and circling Sholazar Basin. Then I actually took like a short break, and then I came back on my Hunter. And basically, it's weird because I only raided Trial and I only raided Trial, well, obviously the Vault, and a little bit of dabbling in Ulduar and Nax, but mainly my only raiding happened in Trial and in ICC. So man, do I, or of course I did, Onyxia, whenever Onyxia came out, that was really cool, and, Sarth, but man, I have that unfinished Ulduar business, right? It's like, Matt, he missed out on Throne of Thunder, one of the best raids ever, and my version of that is that I missed out on Ulduar. So I have a profound feeling of
I really don't get people who are excited for Ulduar. Like, the raid is still there. You can go and do it. Obviously, it's not the same because you're overpowered. But, like, so what? It's not like you saw the bosses. You saw what they do. Like, I don't understand the excitement about going into a boss that you already know what he does. Right? And if you don't, just go on your max level character in retail and just see what the bosses do. It's really not... I don't know. I find it so weird, the excitement over going back to Ulduar. It's like, yeah, I get it. It was a good raid, but it's like, it's done. It's like, how can you get excited over something that's like you've done before, or like you've seen, or like you know what the bosses can do. Like, you can easily get the information about it and stuff like that. It's just not as interesting. Like, oh my god, I'm seeing this boss for the first time, like we killed him for the first time. That's interesting. But it's like going to a boss that's like has been killed, like, I don't know, the sense of achievement is just not there. It's just so
finished business, and the idea of going back to Northrend where, I mean, I'm my modern self, but and now with that I can fully engage in the expansion and really get the most out of it. Like, that is just so appealing to me. But reality's really hard. There's so many games to play, man. Oh dear. Well, let me know down below. Wrath Classic, what are you doing? So there you have it. 3 extremely pivotal months World of Warcraft are about to go down. And I don't think it's hyperbole to say that this is really one of the most important time spans in the game's history. I mean, sure,
It is the most important, but it's also more like it was the most important. I'd say the most important time in the game's history right now would be Dragonflight, because that could actually be the last straw for a lot more people. Shadowlands was the last straw for many people. Dragonflight can be the last straw for even more people.
Most important is probably launch in 2004, but it's the first time that we kind of had 2 very troubled expansions in a row, and we all know the game's really taken a hit from that. So 3 troubled expansions in a row, I mean, honestly, that demotes WoW from its standing in the industry. What they need is a big win. That's what's going to turn the story of this game around. So that's why I think it's a pretty damn important 3 months. And at least, to be fair to them, this time round, the alpha, now beta testing process, well, while it is shorter, I'd say it is better than really any of the ones I've been in before, and they are being more responsive. And no matter what...
Blizzard are listening, bro. Because I haven't heard that every 2 years, almost like a cycle.
What happens, that is the sort of Blizzard that is needed for WoW to move in the right direction.
I mean, yeah,
of course, only time will tell. But that's it for me today. Hope you found today's episode to be interesting, okay?
I mean, same old shit. Blizzard needs to be more responsive, and they are, so that's a good thing. I mean, it is, but are they actually more responsive? Like, you'll see as soon as the expansion launches, because right now they're in development. Expansion launches, no more communication, because they'll be busy making the next expansion. Everything that's fucked up on this expansion is just gonna stay for the longest time, because they're not gonna communicate shit. I mean, same old, same old story on repeat. It is what it is, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.